password picking up the keyboard?
Oh, it's taped
Oh.
to the bottom of the keyboard.
Gotcha.
I said I have to remember too many passwords. I've been trying to like make them all the same. So I only have to remember one.
One simple one.
Right.
It's a long agenda, huh? Let's hope it's quick.
Like a box of chocolates. Well, actually. Yeah, so.
Hi, Miss Thompson. I said,
Good
hello,
evening.
Miss Thompson, how are
I
you?
really wanna put a golf course, like, not golf, I wanna put a.
Till noon.
Every clock in here is different. Every clock in this building is different.
Good? Okay. All right. Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Brad Gottschall. I am the township manager. As I did last meeting, I'm going to give a brief introduction to this evening's processions, really because this is and remains kind of unprecedented territory for the township in convening its vacancy board. So allow me, if you will, just to kind of give a summary similar to that of our last vacancy board meeting. So on March 4th, the Board of Supervisors acted to accept the resignation of Chris Judd from its membership, beginning a statutorily prescribed 30-day timeline to appoint a successor, that being pursuant to the second-class township code. This 30-day time frame having expired on April 3rd without a finalized successor being seated, a new 15-day timeline expiring on April 18th is active, during which this body, the vacancy board, must appoint the successor to the Board of Supervisors vacancy. Pursuant the PA Second-Class Township Code, Article 4, Section 407C, quote, the vacancy board shall consist of the Board of Supervisors and one registered elector of the township, who shall be appointed by the Board of Supervisors at the board's first meeting each calendar year. The appointed elector shall act as the chairperson of the vacancy board. With us this evening, we have our current Board of Supervisors, including Supervisors Thompson, Kurtz, and McCormack, along with the annually appointed vacancy board chair, Mr. Dan Mosel, who was recently unanimously reappointed to the position by the entire Board of Supervisors during their January 6th reorganization meeting. Also joining us this evening in the audience, we have attorney Christopher Cooper, whose firm represents the township as solicitor to the Zoning Hearing Board and other temporary project-specific legal work, who has made himself available to us to assist this board in answering any legal questions as they may arise. It is also important to note that beginning approximately March 5th through end of business March 21st, the township advertised for and received a total of 9 applications for the vacancy in reference this evening, in addition to 14 applications received for the previous board vacancy. With all that said, members of the board are seated and prepared to conduct business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Public comment only on this
Duke Street. Wanted something for the record. What is the relationship of the vacancy board chairman to the Lower Paxton Township and or Dauphin County Republican organization?
That is not germane to this meeting.
It is, yes. Yes, because you are the chairman. And I'm asking for the credentials of the chairman. The board
Mr.
that
Purdy.
appointed. Yes,
Mr. Purdy, this is to appoint the vacancy that occurred. In January, Mr. Mosel, who is an elector, a voter in Lower Paxton Township, was properly voted in as chairman of the vacancy board at that time. That would have been the appropriate time to ask these kinds of questions. His personal history or his personal resume is not up for question at this time, because this is a normal meeting, as much of a normal meeting as there can be of the vacancy board, just to appoint an individual to replace the resigned person. So that area is not part of this evening. Questioning Mr. Mosel on his background is not part of tonight's meeting.
but why are you afraid?
Not
Just
afraid.
state it.
Not afraid at all. Just trying to keep things in order.
Just state it. Anyway,
I'll provide you that information after the meeting.
yes, after the meeting. Last second question, for the record, is the word on the street true that new supervisors and their associates are required to contribute or pledge thousands of dollars to the Republican
That is
organization?
completely out of order,
Or
Mr. Purdy.
a PAC?
That is
before
completely out
the
of order.
Before
That
the
is
appointment tonight.
Mr. Purdy.
It's out of order only in your opinion, and I think you're wrong. If we had a solicitor
The answer
here-
to,
Agrees with him.
the answer to that is no. No one is required to do anything other than to submit an application. We have 20-some applications and each of them are being considered based on their merits. At our last meeting, somebody stood up and said, well, the Republican Party is interviewing candidates for various positions. Yes, they do that. That's their job. And what the committee does is none of our business, just like what we do is none of their business. And for you to accuse this Board of Supervisors for requiring people to make donations is absolutely absurd, despicable, and completely out of order.
I'm
I
really saying
reject
that it's
completely.
for that word is just word on the street, and now you've given me an answer for the record. Thank you very much.
Any other public comment?
Good evening, Stephen Blaine. I live at 5732 Kenwood Avenue. Could you share some light, Mrs. Thompson, on what you were looking for in regards to qualifications in regards to the supervisors?
To fill the vacancy?
Fill the vacancy. Or, as goes for any of the supervisors, what exactly were you looking for in regards to their, say, resumes?
One of the things that I was looking for was volunteerism. And my idea of volunteerism is very much very much a verb, very active kinds of volunteerism. That's why I was at one time supporting Timothy Pramick for the Board of Supervisors because he's been a volunteer firefighter for so many years. So that was something that I was looking for. I was also looking for experience to fill the vacancies that were created when we lost Norm Zumas and Robin Lindsay. Those were the kinds of
Yes.
experiences that I was looking for.
I mean, Mrs. Kurtz, do you have anything to say in regards to that as well? Can you shed some light on what you were looking for in regards to the applicants?
Yeah, and I do have some comments later on when we get to the nominations about who I considered and who I thought was a great candidate. By my count, there were 21. 5 of them withdrew for various reasons. And it's, to me, like a job interview. I look at background, I look at your willingness to serve, I look at your history of serving the community and being involved, And I look at the diversity in terms of who else is already on this board and their backgrounds.
And Mr. Mosley, did you interview any of the applicants? As you,
The applications provided to me by the manager.
you didn't have them, you said?
He did provide them, yes.
Okay, but you didn't interview anybody, and you're gonna make the deciding vote tonight, is that correct?
That's correct.
But you interviewed no one? You interviewed not one applicant?
I answered that question.
You said you had the applications, but you didn't actually interview anybody?
That's correct.
Okay, but you're making the final decision tonight?
He's making one vote of 4, sir. Mr. Blaine, I appreciate your comment, but when you say he's the deciding
But
vote.
he's obviously the deciding factor this evening, and we're just trying to get to some transparency here, which is obviously not there whatsoever.
Since I don't know,
Oh.
well, I disagree with you, but I don't know who's going to
Your,
vote.
your word is always the last word, and it seems that you're not correct too often, sir.
Any other public comments? If not, we will go to nominations, and I will call on Supervisor McCormack.
Mr. Blaine did not ask me what criteria I use for settling on a candidate, but the candidate I'd like to propose is a gentleman who is an immigrant to this country. I believe because of the immigrants in Lower Paxton Township, his experience as an immigrant will help us in dealing with various parts of our community. I think that's important. He is an educated man. He is wise and experienced in the ways of roads and bridges. He lives in our community, obviously. He has a commitment to our community. He has young children in our community. And I found it to be refreshing. He is not connected to any other kinds of political affiliations or organizations in the county or in the Lower Paxton Township. So I hope that's okay with you, Mr. Blaine. I would like to place in nomination the name of resident citizen John Nugene. Yusana is his given name, which means God is gracious, in his home of Lebanon, and his adopted name is John. John Nugene. I would like to place his name in nomination, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the nomination.
Are there any other nominations?
I nominate John Packer.
Is there a second to that nomination? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Can I make a comment before we vote on the
Yes.
question? Thank you, and for your indulgence, I appreciate it. I just want to make a couple comments here. I want to thank the candidates, first of all, for expressing their interest in filling this vacancy. I support many of them for this position, and I'd like to acknowledge some of these strong candidates from many different backgrounds, which include a financial advisor and consultant, a Commonwealth employee and attorney, a nurse, a business owner, a community activist and government affairs specialist, a retired state trooper, and a firefighter. These are some amazing people, and I encourage you to continue to work to better the community, apply for additional vacancies on this board and other township boards, or run for office. You are making a difference. Number 2, this is my second meeting, and I've started digging into some of the issues the residents have raised. I believe the board's policies and procedures, or lack thereof, for filling vacancies are inadequate at best. My day job requires me to attend a lot of municipal meetings. I've watched other municipalities conduct public interviews. I've asked that we draft and consider a policy that, number 1, clarifies the materials that should be submitted to include a letter of interest, a resume, and written responses to questions about why the candidate wants to serve on the board, how their experience is relevant, any goals or objectives that they have for the township, all of which information should be made public. Number two, we should require the submission of a statement of financial interest form for each candidate so that we can identify and address any conflicts of interests. And number three, we should conduct public interviews of the candidates at a public meeting. It is unfortunate that this process cannot be in place for these current vacancies. I ask the solicitor and the board to consider these policies and implement them as soon as possible. And finally, the last thing I want to say is that all of these appointments are temporary. Please go and vote in the primary election on May 20th. There are 2 Democratic candidates on the ballot for the 2-year term. Then, in November, all 4 seats will be on the ballot for the general election. So thank you.
Supervisor Thompson, do you have any comments?
I do not. I have made comments on this issue for several meetings, so I believe my feelings are very clear. I haven't participated in this process with McCormick and Kurt, so I don't have any comments.
I would like to say that Lower Paxton is quite fortunate in the quality and quantity of the applicants for this position. And this shows that this board is well respected, and there are a lot of people, a lot of good people who would like to serve on it. At this time,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just want to add my support to the comments that Supervisor Kurtz made. Everyone in this room and everyone watching on television, I want them to understand that these procedures that we're currently using for vacancies are not policies and procedures that any of us at this board were involved with creating. We were also faced with the unprecedented 4 resignations in a relatively short period of time. We are doing the best we can. When you're asked the question, and it matters not whether you answer yes or no, whatever your answer, 70% of the people disagree with you. That's a little bit disheartening. And that's the position that I find myself in now. Earlier, somebody was critical of something I said or did. I take time away from my family and friends to be here, to help this be. I'm really, truly, honestly committed to this township. I took this job, and I said it before, I'll say it again, I have 55,000 bosses, and that's exactly the way it should be. We did not create this procedure for filling vacancies. There has never in the history of Lower Paxton Township been the number of resignations in such a short period of time. Had there been, I'm sure that a new process, a new policy would have been developed, because you're right, this is clunky. But this is what we had available to us. So you can agree or disagree with what we've done, and I understand. You're entitled to your opinion to agree or disagree. But we've been faced with unprecedented circumstances, and we're doing the best job we can while we're getting paid insignificant amount of money and spending an inordinate amount of our week trying to do your business. So I hope you'll give us a little bit of latitude as we try to swim upstream against the court of public opinion and other things that are against us, as we try to recreate a board of supervisors that can adequately do the business that we are supposed to be doing, rather than some of these other things. But the recommendations that Supervisor Kurtz has made, I fully support them. I don't know how much fully transparent we can be. You know, I'm not sure that we want to, for example, release somebody's statement of financial interest as part of the transparency process. So there will have to be some reasonable limitations, but I fully endorse and support, and I will recommend that she chairs the committee to put the new policy and procedures together. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you.
The statement of financial interest is on file when someone decides to run for office. So it is on, it's available to the public over at the Dauphin County Voter and Registration Bureau.
I understand that, Supervisor Thompson. I'm just wondering whether or not it would have a chilling effect if someone knew that we were circulating to everybody in the township before we voted. Some people, especially those people that would not be selected as supervisor, may want to keep that information private because it wouldn't be filed if they weren't actually serving.
call for the vote. Supervisor McCormick,
Yes.
Supervisor Kurtz,
Yes.
Supervisor Thompson,
Nay.
Chairman votes yes. I will now take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned. I would like to call Judge Kyle to come forward and swear in the new supervisor. Congratulations.
John, as the new supervisor, would you like to join us in the executive session?
By the way, Carlisle does.
Sorry?
Carlisle does post the same as a financial in our public. It's, look, we can
I would- I
massage
would-
it, but I'm just saying
I
that's.
would not want to do that for everyone who is an applicant. I don't mind the resume or anything else, but does everybody want to, I mean, is somebody who was applying,
What if they wanted to stop?
if they're appointed, then their financial statement becomes
Yeah, but if
public.
you look at it, it's not,